Inside the Combat Direction Center, the lighting is low, screens bright, voices controlled. The carrier holds steady at 21 knots, bow cutting clean through calm water. Routine flight operations were scheduled in 30 minutes. Nothing unusual appears on the scope. Then 5 radar tracks shift at once. Multiple contacts altering course. The air intercept controller leans forward. Bearing changes confirm. The group that had been paralleling the strike group at a distance is no longer holding its line. New heading 090 direct. Altitude 24,000 feet. Speed 480 knots. And increasing identification. Iranian Air Force MiG-29, Fulcrum's IFF confirmed. No chatter, no civilian frequencies. The tactical action officer does not raise his voice. Mark the shift. Confirm intent. The SPY-1 radar array's Titan resolution. The 5 returns compress into deliberate geometry. For abreast, 1 trailing high. Not weather drift, not navigation, correction. Formation, discipline. Distance, 82 nautical miles. Closure rate increasing. Time to intercept at present speed, 9 minutes. The controller states flatly. Above deck, 2 FA-18E, Super Hornets sit on Alert 5 status. Crews already strapped in. Maintenance crew chiefs step back as the launch signal is passed. No one runs. No one wastes motion. The Iranian formation accelerates 520 knots. The E-2D Hawkeye orbiting at 27,000 feet confirms the descent. Contacts now, Angels 19. That matters. High-altitude parallel flight can be observation. Descent narrows intent. The carrier maintains course. That is doctrine. The carrier does not flinch. Set condition 3. The Dow orders launch alert 5. Inside the hangar bay, ordnance crews secure loose gear. On escorting destroyers, Aegis systems shift from passive track to engagement quality solutions. Vertical launch cells remain closed. Weapons safe but ready. At 64 nautical miles, electronic support measures detect radar emissions. NO-19 slot-back signals begin sweeping. Iranian fire control radars have gone active, not locked, searching. The Air Wing Commander keys, the tactical net. Intercept standard. Show presence, no escalation unless locked. Catapults fire. Steam erupts. The first Super Hornet launches clean, afterburners bright against the pale morning sky. The second follows seconds later. Both climb aggressively to Angels 25, noses pointed toward the inbound formation. The MiGs continue closing. 58 nautical miles. The Hawkeye recalculates vectors. Fulcrum's descending now. Angels 15. That altitude puts them closer to a sea-skimming transition if desired. The strike group subtly adjusts geometry. The cruiser slides 2 degrees to port. A destroyer increases speed to tighten screen spacing. No dramatic turns. No visible reaction from the carrier's island. Professional restraint. At 41 nautical miles, American fighters establish radar contact. Tally 5. Fulcrum group confirmed. The Super Hornets hold the altitude advantage. AMRAAM missiles are armed but cold. No fire control lock initiated. The Iranian formation shifts again. 2 aircrafties left. 2 right. 1 remains high on the center line. Offensive spread. 33 nautical miles. No radio call from the Iranian side. No identification broadcast. Only speed. On the carrier's flight deck, sailors glance skyward as faint silhouettes form against the horizon. SIBS mounts rotate fractionally, just enough to signal readiness. Their motors hum softly. The tactical action officer watches the geometry converge. Log all emissions, he says quietly. Iranian radar intensity increases. 1 MiG noses lower to 12,000 feet. Possible mock attack rehearsal. The Super Hornet lead maintains a steady heading. No aggressive maneuver. Confidence projects power. Now well inside, beyond visual range missile envelopes. If either side commits to a hard lock, engagement timelines shrink to seconds. The air intercept controller transmits on guard frequency. Iranian aircraft, you are approaching United States naval forces in international airspace. Maintain safe separation. No reply. The 5 Fulcrums descend again. Angels 10. Tight formation. The carrier remains steady at 21 knots. No change in heading, no escalation, only tracking. For the first time, the American pilots can see them clearly. Twin vertical stabilizers, gray camouflage. Iranian roundels bright in the morning light. The distance continues to close. Inside the Combat Direction Center, nobody speaks about worst-case scenarios. They do not need to. Every man and woman in that space understands what 5 fighters closing nose on toward a carrier means, and they are still coming. The geometry tightens inside the Combat Direction Center. Every scope is clean, every return sharp. The 5 MiG-29s are no longer drifting inside a wide patrol arc. They are pointed, deliberate, compressed. Iranian group maintaining vector 090, the air intercept controller confirms. Speed, 520 knots. The E-2D Hawkeye updates altitude, Fulcrums now, Angels 12, descending. That descent changes the equation. At this altitude, radar clutter increases against the sea surface. Missile timelines shorten. Reaction windows compress. The two Super Hornets level at Angels 22, offset slightly west of the carrier's bow. They are now the visible barrier between 5 inbound fighters and the strike group. No weapons locked, but every system armed. The Iranian formation splits. 2 aircraft Ds left, widening separation. To move right, one remains high on the center line, a wedge becoming a pincer. The tactical action officer watches without expression. Mark formation split, possible encirclement, rehearsal. No one speculates further. They log, they track, they calculate. Electronic support measures, spike. Iranian radar sweep, increased intensity. The electronic warfare officer calls out. N019 operating at higher power. That is no longer broad search. That is focused scan. The lead Super Hornet pilot keeps his jet steady. He can see them clearly now, dark gray silhouettes against a pale horizon. Contrails faint but visible. 5 contacts confirmed visual, he reports. Combat spread. No visible external stores change, no missiles separating. No smoke trails. Not yet. The first radar spike hits. A sharp tone inside the American cockpit. Spike bearing 085. Search radar transitions briefly to track mode. Not a full weapons-grade hardlock, but close. Inside the carrier's CIC, the report comes instantly. Fulcrum 1 painting, lead Hornet. Duration 1 second. The tactical action officer nods once. They are probing, now fully inside, beyond visual range missile envelope. At this range, an R-77 launch would reach its target in under 40 seconds. The Super Hornets hold formation. They do not break. Breaking signals fear. Fear invites escalation. The air intercept controller transmits again. Iranian military aircraft. You are approaching U.S. naval forces, operating legally in international airspace. Maintain safe separation. Silence. The high MiG drops 2,000 feet, sliding into alignment with the lower 4. The 5 aircraft now fly nearly level at Angels 10. Unified wedge. Carrier deck crew members pause mid-task from the flight deck. The MiGs are now visible as distinct shapes. Twin tails, swept wings, fast. The CIWS mounts rotate fully into tracking posture. A subtle motor whine can be heard across the deck. Automatic, not emotional. The Iranian formation tightens. The Hawkeye reports. Range decreasing rapidly. The Super Hornet lead adjusts 2 degrees starboard, placing himself directly between the MiGs and the carrier's bow. The movement is small but deliberate. The message is clear. If you want the carrier, you come through us. Another spike hits stronger this time. The lead Hornet receives an intermittent track lock, 2 seconds sustained. Inside the CIC, engagement clocks tick silently in every mind. 2 seconds. 3 seconds is often the threshold between probe and commit, but the lock breaks. The Iranian right element edges lower, Angels 8. The left element holds at Angels 10. The center aircraft climbs slightly, maintaining an overwatch position. Layered pressure from above and below. The carrier still holds 21 knots. No turn, no acceleration. That restraint is intentional. Sudden maneuvering can be misread as preparation for launch and misread Start Wars. Now close enough for visual detail without optics. Pilots can see cockpit canopies, helmet reflections, control surfaces, adjusting. The Iranian-led aircraft dips its nose briefly, then levels again. Testing reaction. The Super Hornet pilot does nothing. No flare, no defensive brake. Aegis systems aboard the cruiser compute firing solutions continuously. Vertical launch cells remain sealed. Weapons safe, but the solution is ready. The MiGs accelerate slightly. Afterburners flicker momentarily. Shock diamonds flare orange. The sea surface below ripples from jet wash. This is knife fight distance in modern air combat. One missile fired here would reach its target in under 20 seconds. Inside the Combat Direction Center, the tactical action officer speaks calmly. If a hard lock is sustained, we escalate. No one asks how. They already know. The 5 MiGs compress even tighter, wings nearly overlapping. A show of discipline. A show of nerve. The Iranian formation begins a subtle roll not outward, but inward toward the carrier's bow. The distance continues collapsing, and the sky grows very quiet. The Iranian-led aircraft suddenly banks hard left. Afterburner ignites in a flash of orange. The MiG-29 slices across the nose of the lead Super Hornet at less than 1,000 yards. Separation fast. Close. Intentional. Inside the American cockpit, the pilot holds steady. No defensive brake, no flare deployment, no aggressive climb. He maintains heading. Confidence projects control. The second MiG mirrors the maneuver on the opposite side, crossing wide but equally close. The 2 outer aircraft stretch the American intercept line thin for a moment, testing reaction time. The remaining 3 fulcrums compress behind them. Altitude, now Angels 8. Sea level glints beneath their wings. Inside the carrier's Combat Direction Center, every movement is tracked to the decimal. Lead MiG crossing within 1,000 yards of Hornet 1. Starboard element, offset 2,000 yards. Center aircraft, descending further. Angels 6. That descent matters. Angels 6 brings a fighter closer to a sea-skimming transition. A missile fired from that altitude shortens radar warning and reduces the engagement window. The tactical action officer watches the center track closely. Mark center aircraft. Possible simulated attack profile. At 2.1 nautical miles from the carrier's perimeter, the center MiG rolls inverted. The maneuver is smooth and deliberate. Then it dives nose down, fast. For 2 seconds, its flight path aligns directly with the carrier's forward deck. Inside the Super Hornet cockpit, the radar warning receiver flashes red. Hard lock tow knot search, not intermittent sweep, full fire control quality lock. Time from lock to potential missile launch at this range. Under 4 seconds, the American pilot shifts his right hand closer to the throttle detent. His left thumb rests near weapon select, but he does not fire. He holds. The lock sustains for 1 long second, then 2. The combat direction center is silent except for the tone relayed over the tactical net. If sustained 3 seconds, escalate. The 3rd second never comes. The lock drops. The diving MiG levels at 1,000 feet above the waterline, skimming hard across the carrier's bow at high speed. Shockwaves ripple across the ocean surface. From the flight deck, sailors feel the vibration before they fully process the movement overhead. Loose tie-down chains rattle. A stack of light gear shifts slightly. Before being caught by deck crew, the fulcrum roars past, climbing sharply after crossing the bow. No missile, no gunfire, only proximity. The remaining 4 MiGs widen their spacing simultaneously. The left element breaks outward 5 degrees. The right element mirrors. The high aircraft climbs back to Angels 10. It is coordinated, not chaotic. This is not loss of control. It is choreography. The 2 Super Hornets reposition instantly, sliding back between the Iranian fighters and the carrier's projected path. Their radars remain active, AMRAAM rails aligned. Inside the cruiser's Aegis compartment, engagement quality solutions are recalculated in real time. If a missile had left a rail, interceptors would have followed within seconds. Vertical launch cells remain sealed. Weapons still cold, but every solution is ready. Closest point of approach, 1.8 nautical miles from the carrier's bow. That distance matters. Under 2 nautical miles, a supersonic missile leaves almost no reaction window. The tactical action officer speaks calmly over the internal net. Document closest approach, confirm. No ordnance release, confirmed. No missile separation. No gunfire observed. Above the carrier, the Iranian high element arcs wide and rejoins formation. 5 aircraft now banking east, not attacking, dictating the Super Hornet's shadow at offset, careful not to pursue aggressively. The mission remains deterrence, not dominance. Distance increases slowly. 2 miles, then 3. Electronic support measures confirm radar emissions decreasing. NO19 power levels reducing. No fire control lock detected. The carrier maintains course at 21 knots. No turn, no acceleration. That stability is intentional. In high tension, intercepts. Sudden maneuvering can be misread as hostile preparation. Holding steady forces the other side to reveal intent first. 5 nautical miles separation. The Iranian formation reforms into a tighter echelon. Altitude Angels 12 and climbing. Afterburners flash briefly, pushing them eastbound. No radio transmission, no acknowledgement, only departure. Inside the combat direction center, the engagement clock stops. Duration from first hard lock to disengagement, less than 30 seconds. Duration from initial descent to closest pass, 3 minutes 14 seconds. Total time inside the critical envelope, under 5 minutes. The tactical action officer closes the immediate threat log. Carrier, secure. Continue shadow until 40 nautical miles. No applause, no visible relief. Only quiet professionalism, because everyone in that space understands the margin. At 2 nautical miles, at 2 seconds of sustained radar lock, the difference between demonstration and detonation is razor thin. And this time, no one crossed it. Range increasing. 5 nautical miles. The Iranian formation holds eastbound, climbing through Angels 12. Afterburners flicker once, then fade. The geometry that had compressed so tightly moments earlier begins to stretch outward into standard cruise spacing. Inside the combat direction center, nobody relaxes. Not yet. Maintain track, do not assume full disengagement. The tactical action officer says evenly. The 2 Super Hornets remain offset between the fulcrums and the carrier's projected path. Their radars stay active. Weapons armed, safeties intact. Electronic support measures continue logging emissions. NO19 power output decreasing. The electronic warfare officer reports. Fire control mode no longer detected. That matters. Search radar can be posturing. Fire control radar signals intent. At 7 nautical miles, the Iranian high element drifts slightly above the others, maintaining overwatch altitude. The lower 4 stabilize at Angels 15. No aircraft break formation. No sudden turns back toward the strike group. Still, every bearing change is logged. The cruiser's Aegis suite continues calculating intercept solutions automatically. Even as distance grows, engagement quality tracks remain firm. Vertical launch cells stay closed. Missiles remain cold, but the system does not forget. 10 nautical miles. The Hawkeye orbiting high above recalculates separation. Fulcrum Group accelerating eastbound, speed 550 knots, increasing distance. The carrier maintains 21 knots, no pursuit. That restraint is deliberate. Chasing can turn disengagement into escalation. The Super Hornet-led pilot keys the tactical frequency. Iranian aircraft departing east, no further hostile maneuver. Observed, he does not thank them. He does not provoke. He simply states the fact. From the flight deck, the MiGs are now shrinking silhouettes against the morning haze. Deck crews resume controlled motion, securing tie-downs, resetting catapults, steam pressure, confirming ordnance status. But eyes still track the horizon. The tactical action officer reviews the timeline. Closest approach to carrier, 1.6 nautical miles. Hard radar, lock duration, 2 seconds sustained. No weapons release, observed. The numbers are precise. Precision matters. In modern air confrontation, perception can travel faster than missiles. Logs and recordings shape the narrative as much as maneuvering does. The electronic warfare officer confirms the final radar fade. Iranian emissions now intermittent, likely transitioning to cruise mode. The strike group geometry loosens slightly. The destroyer eases speed back to standard screen spacing. Sibs mounts spool down from high alert posture. The faint mechanical hum fades across the deck. The Hawkeye maintains surveillance until the fulcrums cross 40 nautical miles separation. That is standard shadow protocol. Inside the CIC, tension unwinds incrementally, not with visible relief, but with quiet normalization. Logs are timestamped, emission signatures archived, video feeds stored. Every second of the intercept has been recorded from multiple angles: radar, infrared, cockpit video, deck camera. Data becomes deterrence. The Super Hornets begin gradual repositioning. They do not tail aggressively. They hold an offset track, signaling awareness without pursuit. Professional distance. Fulcrum's now Angels 18, continuing eastbound. No further deviation. Hawkeye confirms. The tactical action officer nods, once. Return cap to standard orbit. Maintain air picture. The Super Hornets climb gently and widen their turn, returning to established combat air patrol lanes above the strike group. The carrier never altered course. That fact carries weight. Holding heading under pressure communicates steadiness. It signals that intimidation will not redirect operations. At 40 nautical miles, the Iranian radar picture fades into standard air traffic beyond the immediate envelope. Inside the combat direction center, the immediate threat clock closes. The duration of the critical intercept window, 12 minutes, 41 seconds. Time inside the 2 nautical mile envelope, under 60 seconds. Number of weapons launched, 0. The tactical action officer issues the final internal call. Strike group secure. Resume standard posture. No applause. No victory announcement, just a disciplined reset. Above deck, flight operations resume as scheduled. Another launch cycle prepares. Engine spool. Steam pressure stabilizes. Routine returns. But nothing about the last 12 minutes was routine. Because at 2 nautical miles, at 2 seconds of sustained radar lock, the difference between demonstration and detonation had narrowed to a margin measured in heartbeats. This time, separation increased. This time, disengagement held. And the carrier continued forward unchanged. The air picture is clean again. 5 Iranian MiG-29s continue eastbound, now beyond 40 nautical miles and increasing separation. Their radar emissions fade into routine cruise patterns. No further deviation. No second approach. Inside the Combat Direction Center, the immediate threat board is cleared, but the review begins instantly. Every second of the intercept is replayed. Radar tracks scroll backward across digital screens. Bearing shifts, altitude drops. Speed increases. Formation splits. Each maneuver is examined without commentary. Professional, methodical. Replay hardlock event. The tactical action officer says. The timeline narrows to a 3-second window. 2 seconds of sustained fire control quality radar lock. 1 second more would have crossed the escalation threshold. That is not speculation. That is protocol. The electronic warfare team isolates the exact waveform of the Iranian N019 radar during that lock frequency. Pulse repetition rate, signal strength, the data is cataloged and archived. Radar fingerprints matter. In modern air warfare, recognition is survival. Up on the bridge, the carrier's captain receives the summary. He listens without interruption. No raised voice. No dramatics. Carrier maintained course. He asks, "Yes, sir." No deviation. That detail is important. Turning away from pressure can be interpreted as concession. Overreacting can be interpreted as aggression. Holding steady projects control. On the flight deck, maintenance crews inspect the 2 Super Hornets that flew the intercept. No damage, no contact. Only heat stress along the leading edges from aggressive maneuvering. The pilots debrief immediately. Intelligence officers request details. The lead pilot explains calmly. He rolled inverted, nose down. A taxiometry alignment for approximately 2 seconds. No missile separation observed. How close? Under 1,000 yards lateral separation during bow cross. The numbers are precise, no exaggeration. Across the strike group, escort ships forward their logs. Aegis systems confirm engagement solutions were ready, but never activated. SM-2 and ESSM interceptors remained on standby. SIB systems tracked but did not fire. No kinetic exchange but full readiness achieved. The Hawkeye crew provides altitude charts showing the coordinated descent of all 5 fulcrums before the closest approach. It was not random, it was structured. Testing layered defenses. Assessing posture under pressure. And the strike group did the same in return. Every Iranian emission, every altitude shift, every acceleration spike captured, stored, analyzed in Washington. No immediate public statement is issued. The absence of headlines is intentional. Not every confrontation requires amplification. Deterrence often works best in silence. Back aboard the carrier, operations resume on schedule. A scheduled training sortie launches at 6:10. Flight deck choreography returns to its routine rhythm. But the atmosphere carries memory. Everyone on that deck felt the shockwave when the MiG crossed the bow. Everyone inside the CIC heard the hard lock tone when radar shifted from search to track. They understand how narrow the margin was. At 2 nautical miles, an R-77 launch would have required an immediate response. A missile fired at that range leaves little room for diplomacy. From lock to launch can take under 4 seconds. From launch to impact, less than 20. And from impact to escalation, unpredictable. But today, no missile left a rail. The Iranian fighters disengaged before crossing the final threshold. Why? Only their pilots know for certain. Perhaps it was calculation. Perhaps the demonstration was complete. Perhaps they recognized that the strike group did not flinch. Professional forces understand limits. They test them. They approach them. But crossing them changes everything. The tactical action officer closes the formal engagement report. Closest point of approach, 1.6 nautical miles. Hard radar lock duration, 2 seconds. Weapons released, 0. He pauses, then adds quietly, outcome no escalation. That phrase carries weight, because escalation is rarely loud at first. It begins in seconds inside radar tones, altitude changes, and geometry that shifts from parallel to direct. Today, the difference between confrontation and combat was measured in seconds, and restraint. 5 MiG-29s approached a U.S. aircraft carrier within 2 nautical miles. They turned away. The carrier never changed course. New flurries, new missiles, no warning shots. Just presence and professionalism. The ocean remains calm, but everyone aboard understands a simple truth. The next time those 5 radar tracks shift simultaneously, the margin may be thinner and the decision window even shorter. For now, the carrier continues forward, steady at 21 knots.